Hi, my name is Kirsten McNeil. I'm an author and self-publisher, and this is how I publish. Here are 5 things you need to know when you're working with an illustrator. Thanks goes to Steven Bristow, who is the illustrator of My Brother is a Vampire, who really helped with this list. Number 1, be ready. It may seem obvious, but have your manuscript 90 to 95% complete before you approach an illustrator. It's important for the illustrator to know the complete story, the story arc, the number of characters, the number of pages, in order to create an accurate estimate and to get a feel for the story. If you're not ready, it would just take a longer period of time between you and that illustrator to get to the illustrations that that book needs and that you're happy with. So prioritize getting that manuscript nearly finished, and you'll have a better experience with your illustrator and getting the illustrations that work well for the book. You also need to be ready to share your work with your illustrator. Again, it might seem obvious, but if your illustrator is the first person that you're sharing your work with, it might be a bit too daunting. So share it first with family and friends, see how they react, see what they imagine their characters to be in their mind, and then you'll have a bit more research and feedback to bring to that illustrator that you're approaching. Number 2 is be committed. When you're at the stage where you're approaching illustrators, you need to be ready to pay for their work, whether that is paying for a concept, which is often just one character in a certain style, or a page spread, or whether it is speaking to them about fully commissioning and being part of your book. You need to understand how much that is going to cost you, what your budget is, and be willing and able to have that conversation with your illustrator up front. Being financially committed to another creator can be quite daunting. It works both ways as well, and the illustrator will be taking on an element of risk. So it's important that you communicate well and you can work well together. Here's a few more tips to help you. Number 3, be open. When you are sharing something that you have created with others, you have to be prepared to receive feedback and criticism, and you have to be open to all the different perspectives that other people might have to your book. The fact of the matter is, if you feel uncomfortable about receiving feedback or criticism on your manuscript from your illustrator, it's either because you're not quite ready to share, or you might not work well with that illustrator. The important thing is to be open about this relationship and how it's evolving, and be very, very clear with the person that you are creating something with if it doesn't feel quite right. If your illustrator has feedback that you're not going to take on board, they're not going to feel that comfortable with illustrating your book as well. And at the end of the day, it's about making the best version of your book possible. So be open to the fact that you will get criticism and feedback from another creative, but also be open to the fact that that relationship might not work. And the earlier you know about that, the better. Number 4, be flexible. Creatives often have another job. I have a different job, so does my illustrator, and we both work on our creative jobs in the evening. So that works out well for us, but some other people work differently. So be prepared for different, flexible working, different situations that your creatives are in. And also, you might not be the only piece of work that that illustrator has. So you might have to have an element of flexibility to allow the illustrator to fit you in, and also to allow for other parts of life that just get in the way of creating a wonderful picture book. Again, it's really important to be open and communicative about what pressures you have, what timescale you're working towards, and the level of flexibility you have. This will all create and build a better working relationship between you and your illustrator. Number 5, be realistic. Be realistic that sometimes another creative might look great on paper, you might love what they do, but you might not work well together. The important thing is to establish how well you will work or won't work together early on in the connection process. So with all the things I've explained to you about being flexible, being ready, being committed, those will really help towards having that healthy conversation about how each other work well with other people. I would recommend having a conversation first with your potential illustrator to get to know them, understand their values, how they work, how they've worked with other authors, and their different styles that they can create. Then choose a style and ask for a concept to be drawn up. Usually that is a very relatively low price, so ask them upfront how much a concept is versus how much each page might be. Then talk about it. Have a conversation around feedback, understand how they take feedback, and develop that concept further. Once you've got your concept, you can then discuss whether it is the right time to work on the book with your illustrator. It's a really good milestone to then review, get some feedback. You might not be ready to go full in and create the book. It might not be the right time for that illustrator, or you might not work well together. But you will know by then if you are a good collaboration or not. Then pay 50% upfront so that your illustrator is taking on a similar amount of risk to you. Check in with them, make sure you have a regular call with them to discuss progress, even if there aren't any, because then you get to understand why there isn't progress. But also you potentially might have some ideas that you might want to feed in to your illustrator during that illustration process. Understand that if you are not as clear about what you want from an illustration, or you change your mind, then that's going to cost you more. It takes time to make every single change. So be realistic about how you are communicating with your illustrator and about what that means financially to you. So it's all about communicating really well, taking it step by step, and hopefully you'll have a great relationship and a fantastic book at the end of it. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful. Please subscribe, like, and comment, and also follow me on Instagram and Facebook.